everybody. I want to say welcome to the first ConverSAGEtions. My name is Candie, Zenon. I'm an author and a life coach and CEO founder of Changing Seasons Life Coaching, where I help single moms strengthen their faith, family, and finances through mentorship, coaching, live events, books, and of course, solutions. Today, I would like to welcome my first guest, Mrs. Debra Peters. She's here to spill out some tea, whiskey and wine, motherly wit, wisdom, and humor, and encouragement to help you through life. As the Bible teaches us in Titus, that the elder should teach the younger. Teach her how to nurture her children and how to be a wife to her husband. So this is my way of giving to you and encouraging you through the mode of mentorship and seeking our seasoned saints, our seasoned citizens, to come and pour into us and into you. Thank you. So, Miss Debra. So who is Miss Debra Peters?
Miss Debra Peters is the second child of Willie and Texas Banks. I have 8 siblings. I'm very, very focused, inquisitive, loving, giving, caring, God-fearing person,
Amen.
to say the least.
Amen. I love that. Okay. So, what is the word or phrase you live by?
Do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
Any special reason why you held on to that?
I held on to it, and I use it even in my employment with customers or people with issues or concerns or just need help.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm approached in that manner for help, I feel like there have been lots of times that I've approached people not knowing which way or what to do or what to say or how to go forward, and somebody was always there to help me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like because nobody ever turned me away, I just can't say, it's not my job or I can't help you. I would go the mile, the distance,
Mm-hmm.
to help anyone that needs help, because someone has always reached out to help me.
Mm-hmm. And I would second that, because me and Miss Debra met outside of a restaurant. We sat and we talked. I told her about Sage, and I have to say you have been my number one supporter, whether it was donations, whether it was setting up, whether it was gifts, door prizes, getting gifts wrapped, sandwiches, go and pick up jalapenos the second time for event, and just for us to just have met 2019,
Mm-hmm.
2019, and we just now get into 2020. I could say that you have treated me like somebody have known me for a lifetime, and I want to thank you for that, and I appreciate your presence in my life.
The feeling is mutual, believe me. It's there's a bond, there's a sense of feeling, and even though you don't always know it right then and there, because our connection, we met, but then we didn't actually connect until a couple months later.
Mm-hmm.
But we were able to go to transition right where we left off,
Mm-hmm.
and that's an indicator.
Mm-hmm. That is so true and powerful. So, as some of you know, and some of you may not know, that the motto of my business is love through it, learn from it, and live after it. And I say that we have to learn to love through things, because through the life, the trauma, the dramas that happen, sometimes our heart get hard, we get mean, and we start losing hope. And in that loss of hopelessness, things starts to manifest: depression, dis-ease, destruction, and dissipation. So we have to learn to continue to love through whatever the situation is. Not love the current situation if it's not bad. I mean, if it's bad, don't love it, but love through it. Don't allow the situation or circumstances to define you. Learn from it. After you go through the storm, you could turn back and say, I learned this lesson, or if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't have learned this, or because of that happening, I now know this. So learn from it and live after it. Don't get stuck. It was a moment that happened to you, not a sentencing. It wasn't meant to be a lifetime sentencing. It was just a lesson. So live after it. Have your abundant life. Don't get stuck in the pain. Learn to live beyond the pain. So Miss Debra, I want to ask you, what is the one thing that you had to love through?
Candie, and we've never discussed this, and it was a painful event, but I had to work through infidelity. And I want to start by saying, when my husband and I got married, we thought that we had won the lottery or something. We were both so elated and happy, and I never thought anything could ever go wrong or anything could ever change that. And once he was in the military, and once we moved around a lot, and he was gone a lot, and I always told him that I don't have a heaven to put him in, a hell to keep him out of. Mm-hmm. And I can't watch you 24/7. I just have to trust that you're going to do what's right in the eyesight of God. Mm-hmm. And I'm just not going to live like that. And that was the basis of our relationship. So once we relocated to Houston, and he was in recruiting, and he would be gone long hours, and I didn't know anybody in Houston, and I was just there by myself, sitting in the house by myself, just being a little happy homemaker. And to show you how God works, I never suspected, nothing ever gave me any clues. And one day, something came in the mail. And I looked, opened it, and I said, oh. I said, he hasn't been sick. He hasn't been to the doctor. They must have made a mistake. So I opened it, and it was lab work results. And I thought, he would have said something to me. So I didn't know how to read it. So I called, and I asked what the results meant, what the coding meant. And apparently it was test for venereal disease. And needless to say, I couldn't talk. I was devastated. I'm like, why do we have to be tested for that? And I sat there and I said, Lord, please help me. Because I can't even describe what I felt. It just, I called him at work, and it was night. Because I had thought about it basically most of the day. I called him and I told him, I said, I'm going to ask you once, and please don't lie. I'm going to ask you to be honest. Why would you have to be tested for venereal disease? And he didn't lie. He said, Debra, it was only once. I said, thank you for being honest. And I hung up. And I sat there and I contemplated, because I said, I never made plan B. Because I didn't think I needed plan B.
Wow.
And you never go into a marriage or into a relationship thinking you need plan B. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a prenup or something. Mm-hmm. I thought we'd be together like we were for the rest of our lives. I never thought anything would come between us. So when he came home that evening, unfortunately, I insisted that he call her, and he did. And he said to her, do you remember me telling you that I love my wife? And she said, yes. And he said, well, I can't see you anymore. And she said, never? And he says, no, I can't. I love my wife. And I know he's hoping that she would just hang up.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, I love my wife. And I just want you to know I can't see you anymore. And then he hung up. So the betrayal, the hurt that I felt in that moment was just, it's like something inside me died. And I didn't know how to move forward because I never expected it.
Mm-hmm.
And he could see the hurt. It hurt him that he knew he had hurt me. And I knew that. And I prayed about it. I stuck in another room for about a week, just praying about it. And continued to go to work and function. And finally, it came to me that if you don't deal with it, then you'll never be able to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that forgiveness was not for him, it was for me to be able to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know what caused it, what manifested that to come into our lives like that. But whatever it was, did I have a foundation that I could stand on? And I said, well, forgiveness. Forgiveness is what God does for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the hardest thing, to be able to forgive him.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized I had to, in order for me to heal and move forward, I had to forgive him. And I did. But that's not to say it didn't still hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then I thought about it. A couple generations before me, my grandparents, they had infidelity. Their husbands had children down the lane, over on the other side of town, all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I often wondered, how could that be? And they stayed together. They actually stayed together through that. So I never thought that I would be somebody that could accept infidelity. But I don't think it was so much that I accepted it as I realized that he was human.
Mm-hmm.
To err is human.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that if it was something that I wanted to do, I could have done it too, but it's not something I had in my heart to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that females can be very persuasive, and he doesn't have the background that I have, and I knew that going into it. So the forgiveness became easier and easier because he realized that he made a mistake. And I realized that what we had, what we built, and the desires of our heart to grow old together and sit on the front porch, these are things we talked about, that I was willing to end it over one night of infidelity. I was willing to give up my whole future for that. And the love that I truly felt in my heart for him. And I opted to stay. It wasn't like I was able to get to where I am today overnight, by no means.
Right.
But I got there.
Right.
And that's what I want to share with you, the fact that I got there.
Mm-hmm. And
I only got there through my relationship with God, and knowing that the hurt that I felt wouldn't always be there. That there had to be a way for me to get to the other side of this. And I did. And on the other side of this, he showed me that I have a husband that loves me dearly, and he made a mistake. There's nothing that he wouldn't give to take it back, and he can't take it back. It happened.
Mm-hmm.
But we're where we are today, in a loving relationship, a caring relationship, an acknowledgement that he made a mistake, and that I loved him through thick and thin, and that he never stopped loving me. He can't really explain why he did what he did. And I don't dwell on it or pester him about it. But I'm sharing this with you to know that forgiveness is the key. By forgiving someone else.
Before you say that, when you said that he does not have the background that you have, are you speaking of your religion?
Religiously.
Okay,
Yeah.
so your spiritual background helped you get through this
Right.
and see him for human and not for a God, and human is the error. So you seen the person and not the error.
Yes.
And you was able to love the person through the error only because he was able to own up to his mistakes and love you through it as well. That is beautiful, and seeing the two of you.
You would never know.
You never know. I mean, relationship goals. I mean, the way he loved you and the way he's attentive to you and care for you. And I mean, just nurturing, caring, all things loving, lovely, and lovable, you would never know. But I guess it took that breaking point to build from and knowing what he could have lost as well.
Exactly.
The treasure in you that he could have lost over that one person. Distraction. Probably was standing on the outside looking in and desiring what you have and try to interject instead of praying for her own and her own relationship and just admiring and appreciating what you have. So what is the thing that you would say that you learned from that situation?
That's what I was relating to.
Right.
That it was something that I never thought I would be able to accept and work through. I thought that meant instant divorce. That's what I thought that meant. But that's not what that meant. I felt like that was me learning to be forgiven.
So did you go into, not to cut you off, but I'm just looking at myself when I got married. I wasn't going to accept the marriage until I knew the exits. What was that? So when you went into it, you went into marriage as happily ever after. Divorce is off the table.
It never crossed my mind that we would not be together. It was never. It was never.
So there was no deal breakers like on the table. Like if you do this, it's understood that I'm like
deuces.
Yeah.
But remember, I said because he was military, he went places without me, and he was gone for long periods of time.
Okay.
And I was not going to be the wife that mistrust or didn't trust.
Oh, because that would worry you crazy.
Yes, and as I say, I had no heaven to put him in, to be able to keep him out of.
Right. Okay.
But I will not tolerate outside children,
Okay.
infidelity,
Okay.
and diseases.
Okay. Right.
But that's what I'm saying. Thank God he didn't give me anything.
Right.
He didn't have anything, but
Okay.
his thought was not to put me in harm's way. And for that, I'm thinking he could have put me in harm's way. That's why I understand now. I hear them talk about AIDS and all this other stuff and protecting yourself. One lapse of judgment can change your life for the rest of your life.
Oh, I harp on that. One decision could change the trajectory of your life, take you years off course, if not take your life altogether. One decision can make a difference, and it doesn't just affect you, but it affects you and everybody you're connected to, and everybody you're connected to come, because then you have spirits of inheritance, generational curses, spirits that's attached to that DNA, and paradigms and beliefs and patterns that you have to break, and you still fighting the devils from decisions of what other people made, and it's not fair. But these are the things that I really believe every family has a Joseph to identify, and I really feel that God gave you spiritual eyes to even break some things that maybe you have seen in your past that you was like, okay, this is the bloodline. That one person can't take my marriage, and all those things that I said my future will be.
And like I said, I had no idea that was something that I would literally have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God that, there's no outside children. There's no.
You have to speak up.
There's no diseases,
Mm-hmm.
Sexually transmitted diseases.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at it, in the whole of it,
Mm-hmm.
I can see how, like I said, one bad decision can change your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have dissolved our whole marriage based on that
One decision.
one infidelity.
Mm-hmm.
And not knowing that was what would make us grow closer.
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing that he would desire the forgiveness from me.
Mm-hmm.
And that I would be able to give it to him. Because I had no idea I could
Mm-hmm.
forgive.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was supposed to, but I didn't know I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I did it. And we moved forward. And I look at it now and look back at what was going on in his life, in that part of his life with his job and the stresses from his job. And we were apart a lot. And that was able to come into his being
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason. And I look back now and thank God that I didn't let my marriage go because of one bad decision.
And that's beautiful. And this question came up during a Sage Chat and Chew. And those of you who don't know, Sage is a multi-generational platform where the singles and the seniors get together and they learn from one another. Because if I can get information on how to maneuver through the world from a mentor who have done it before, I can avoid obstacles that my peers somehow might fall into. I can live life with the wisdom, the wit, and the freedom of someone who is 65 years old, although I'm 45. And I'm not saying that that's Miss Debra's age. I'm just saying if I have a mentor who's pouring into me the wisdom and the encouragement that I need to live life fully and completely, avoiding obstacles and avoiding making those choices and decisions that take me trajectories off of course, years off of course, that I can live an abundant life easier. And that's what my heart is to do. My heart is to serve the heart of God by encouraging the hearts of his people. And Sage just not just come about. I was a young divorced 27-year-old with 3 kids, 2 still in diapers. And my house was chaotic. I mean, we would literally be trying to look for a shoe in a diaper bag when it was time to be loading up in a car to be at the schoolhouse, not driving to the schoolhouse. And I was like, God, when I go to work, it was organized. When I go to church, it was organized, but my home was chaos. And I said, I need someone to help me to organize my home. And the very next day I went to work. A silver-haired lady walked to me. She never once gave me her name. She never once asked me my name. She just walked to me with her hands like this. It's how she held her fingers. She said, this is how I organize my day. And that began a 2-year mentorship. We were in a cubicle together for 2 years. We shared the office together. Our cubicles were side by side. And every time she thought of something or wanted to share something with me, she'll take my office chair, it have wheels on it, and she'll take the handle and she'll pull it to she'll pull my chair towards her and she'll pour into me. And she did that for 2 years. I mean, I've learned how to organize my home, pay my bills, grocery shop. How she would say, stop going to the grocery store every day after work. And that saved like 2-3 hours in my daytime. So we had time to come home, not only cook, but do homework or whatever. She taught me how to pay my bills. Choose one day to pay your bills so you don't have to always have it on your mind or always wasting time, fretting about how you're going to pay this or how you're going to do this. So a lot of things she poured into me, I have put in a course called Making Ends Meet. And you can find that on my website at www.candiezenon.com. Also, join us on Facebook on the platform. Click the link below and join Sage, because you could hear from these ladies and ladies like Miss Debra daily. We talk about recipes. We talk about how to nurture your children. We even have fun. Last night we went out to the ladies' night out, game night. We had game night. So we do things. We meet up for chat and chew. We have some more events that's going to be on the schedule this year. So Facebook, you'll get all your updates on that. But I said all of this to say, if you can find a mentor, and not even to get formal about it, like my mama say, if you copy cat, just copy the right cat. Why I have to remake the wheel when it's already been done? There's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun, the Bible says. So why keep trying to figure it out when somebody already figured it out and you could just learn from them what they got right, what they got wrong. And now they could give you both outcomes, both perspectives, and you could just take from it. Eat the fish and throw away the bones. What you say, Miss Debra?
I agree. I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you look back, you don't understand why they did what they did when they were doing it. My grandparents and my great grandparents, but now I see it. They weren't willing to throw away everything for something that God told us to forgive. That we're human. He said it's human to err.
It's human to err.
And we all make mistakes.
That's powerful.
And like I said, I'm not perfect. And knowing that I'm going to make mistakes, am I going to be forgiven? No. Forgiveness. It's hard. It's hard to truly forgive when you've been hurt. But it's there. You can do it. Like, you can forgive. You never forget, but you can forgive.
Well, talk about that, because to me now we're on how did you live beyond it? How did you live beyond the pain? Because it's love through it, learn from it, live after it. So how did you live after it? So each day, he's coming home from work or he's away with the military. So this has occurred. So how did you suppress the thoughts? Because Satan come to throw those fiery darts.
He does.
And you start listening to that. At first you feeling hopeful, gleeful, and then every now and then he throw a little something subtle. So how did you suppress and silence that?
Because I refused to look back. I kept looking forward.
Oh, that's powerful.
Once I
looking forward.
Once I made the decision, and like I said, I didn't have Plan B. There was no Plan B. And if you don't have a plan, then it's hard to move around or maneuver without a plan.
Right.
You gotta have a plan.
Gotta have a plan.
There was no plan. And I guess I didn't have one because God was telling me you didn't really need one.
But the most powerful thing you have was a made-up mind. That's power in that. Because that silenced so many other things. I mean, a powerful made-up mind can make you make a decision in your finances, a decision to change in your weight, a decision to change in habits that no longer seek or serve you. Whatever those, most powerful thing, you had a made-up mind. So you have made up in your mind that I'm going to love you through this, and we're going to be together, and we're going to have a happily ever after.
Because if I truly forgive you, if I truly forgive you, then we can move forward.
Right.
And he made a comment to me. Normally when we move around, I'd always hang pictures on the wall and get everything set back up. And one day he asked me, he said, well, you haven't put the pictures on the walls.
He was nervous.
And I said, well, because I don't know if I'm going to stay. And the next day, he put the pictures on the wall. And that was my transformation.
But that made you see that he had decided to stay?
No, that he wanted me to stay.
Oh, that he wanted
because
to
he had never put the pictures up by himself
Okay.
before.
Mm-hmm.
He knew exactly where they went. He knew
Uh-huh.
exactly where they were supposed to be.
Uh-huh.
And when I made the statement, I don't know if I'm gonna stay.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, he put the pictures up,
Wow.
and that was like my confirmation
That we go do
that
this.
he needed me to stay.
Wow.
He wanted me to stay. He didn't want me to leave him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was struggling with the forgiveness. And I knew that if I said I forgave you, that's something I can't throw in your face every day.
Right.
I can't bring it up every time I'm upset.
Right.
That's not how forgiveness works.
Right. Tell him. Speak to him. Because I could be 10 years down the road and something come in my mind and like, and another thing.
And you talking about hard, Candie.
Wow.
OMG. Because you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you say you forgive, you forgive.
You forgive.
Because God don't do us like that.
Mm-hmm. That's
He
true.
forgive us.
He said he cast it.
He's wiped it.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone.
Right.
And you can't hold this and throw it up every time you get
Mm-hmm.
in a tizzy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. And my birthday cards, my Christmas cards, always reflect his gratefulness for us being together and for loving him through all the bad times and the good times.
That's so beautiful.
And sometimes it brings me to tears because he sees it, he gets it,
Mm-hmm.
and he's grateful.
Mm-hmm.
And I am too. I am too. Because I know that people always talk about their soulmate and, you know, the person is for them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he knows my history, he knows my background, he knows how I grew up. And he loves me through all the good and the bad. And it's not every day that you're going to meet somebody that can accept you for all that you, the sum of you.
Quirks.
They may want little bits and pieces of
Yeah.
you, but will they take the soul and the sum of you?
Mm-hmm. The good and the bad. So with that being said, what is the one thing that you hope everybody would know that you think would make their life better?
To be able to forgive. If you, because I'm saying it's not, it's a hard thing. You can say you forgive, but forgiveness in its totality is hard. But if you can learn to forgive, forgiveness frees you up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much for that other person.
Mm-hmm.
It's for you.
For yourself. And I would say, because I truly believe in the process of forgiving, it's like you said, daily love through it. When you hear the fiery darts come at you, say the opposite. When you want to remind him of what he did, say the opposite. If you want to think or wonder or wonder why, if it take an hour to go to the grocery store, why it took you an hour and 15 minutes, you know, say the opposite. Because you have to build the trust. You have to say what you want and desire, not what you don't want. Because a lot of people do the opposite. They don't want to see the bad thing. They keep saying the bad thing, the bad thing. You want to see the good thing, so say that. Say what you want to see. And because your destiny listens to your voice. Each time you say what you want to see, you're going to see that. It's kind of like the red car syndrome. Every time you say a red car or somebody buy a red car, not everywhere you go you see the red car. It's just like that. When you want to see love, just keep thinking about everything loving, lovely, and lovable, and you'll see that. When you want forgiveness, give that. And just keep harping on forgiveness. I lead in forgiveness. I lead in forgiveness. And you'll see more forgiveness. And each day it get easier and easier. And I tell you, this couple is relationship goals. Beautiful, blooming flowers. And I just wanted to say that listening to Miss Debra and talking about forgiveness, and I know you said you was going to pour more like gin instead of tea, and you sure poured it out. But and in that, she chose to love herself too, because she knew what she wasn't willing to go through again. But she seen that he corrected the error of his ways, so she chose to love her. But loving yourself is key. And I am hosting in April, right here in Atlanta, Georgia, a Loving Yourself conference. It's called the I Am the Gift Experience, where we're learning to redefine and refine the definition of loving ourselves. We're going to have myself and some special guests come out. We're going to have a neurologist that come out and talk about cellular trauma. How sometimes we try to fight our weight with diet and exercise, but sometimes it's the trauma that's been held in our cells. We're going to have a clinical therapist come out. We're going to have an OB-GYN come out, and just redefining our definition of loving ourselves. And you know, Miss Debra, I want that room to be like, you know, weeping may endure for a night, how the hardships, the financial troubles, family trouble, and trauma, how we just cry and we just hope that everything turns around. I want, when you walk into I Am the Gift Experience meeting, I want it to feel like that morning where joy come in the morning. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy come in the morning. And I want us all to be in a room and celebrate that joy together. So I invite you to click on the link below. The event is April 18th, 2020, here in Atlanta, Georgia, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. 3-course lunch, snacks, singing, loving, gifts throughout the day. It's going to be an event to remember. And I want you to also join Sage platform. So not only just participate on the Sage page, but we do have live events and workshops that happen throughout the year that we get together and have fun. We're going to have a 70s party this year. 70s party, karaoke. We're going to have a family style meal, because some of the senior citizens were saying that since all of their children are grown and gone or out of town, they don't get to have dinner with anyone. So we're going to come together and just have a family style gumbo meal. What? Sebasa. Well, Miss Debra, any final words you want to leave us with?
No, I just knew when you approached me about doing the interview, I said, well, I never shared this with her. And you want to be honest, and you want to be forthright, you want to be forthcoming. And in order to help someone else, you can't help someone else if you can't help yourself.
Right. That's beautiful. Well, thank you again. Thank you, Ms. Debra, for joining us for our first Conversations. And stay tuned every Sunday at 5 p.m. We're going to have an interview with the seasoned ladies of our nation, wherever they may be, however I can get them to you. We're going to tap into this monument of wisdom, and we're going to glean from it, and we're going to sip from the saucer, the overflow, because we're not trying to drain anybody, but we're going to take from the overflow of the wit and the motherly wit and the wisdom and encouragement and inspiration that they have inside of themselves. So thank you again. Love you. And this is Candie Zenon, author and life coach, helping you love through it, learn from it, and live after it.